Jackie Redmond from NHL Network was with us last hour, and she said she would come on any time we ever ask again. And we had a deep talk on potato chips. She says Canada's got America beat hands down in potato chips. And Branden Crowe's here, the voice of the Wheat Kings. Obviously, you would agree.
I would agree. I'm a chip guy myself.
Yeah. What's your favorite?
See, right now I've switched to the kettle chip, which she referred to. They're a spicy dill pickle from Old Dutch. I picked them up at Walmart the other day.
Well, hey,
they are top notch.
It would be an awfully boring world if we all liked the same thing.
Yes.
As they say. But my wife came home. She was away over Easter weekend, and she's like, none of the groceries went down. I left you. I cut peppers for you. I did all this. I said, go check the potato chip supply.
Yeah.
It's considerably down, right? That was my Easter. But anyways, we're having so much fun here today. I'd like to say, Crozy, it's always this much fun, but I'm not sure that it is. And it's something about you that you.
I think it's the sugar donut. You had 2 donuts. I think you're just buzzing off the wall.
I know. Well, I can eat them in the morning. That's the time for energy, right?
Yeah.
But I have yet to tweet the poll, so I got to go to Facebook for the results. I haven't tweeted it yet, guys. Maybe somebody back here can tweet it. For Capital Auto Mall Universal Collision Center, would you take Taylor Hall on your team if you're a contending team? And the results are what? On Facebook, guys, through just over an hour of us posting them. What are they saying, Crozy? It's right in front of you.
51% no, 49% yes. So it's pretty split.
What are you voting?
Ooh, depends on my team. I'm going to say no, just because I feel like there's a lot of baggage there that I don't know if that's what's being talked about. So I don't know. I feel like if you have to, maybe, but don't give up a ton for them. That's my thought.
Yeah, and if you're Buffalo, you're trying to get a ton for them, right?
That's what I hear. The rumors on social media that they're asking for an arm and a leg.
Well, that's the whole centerpiece to the rebuild for them. But what I don't understand is, and we'll move on in a moment, but the Sporting News this morning, when I Googled Taylor Hall trade deadline, the article that came up was 4 destinations. And this doesn't necessarily mean a lot, but sometimes it does. The destinations were the Islanders, the Bruins, the Flames, and the Leafs. And I'm thinking, 3 of them are somewhat contending teams. The 4th is not. Like, why is Calgary in this conversation?
I don't understand that one either.
No.
Especially the downward turn they've taken. And people are saying, well, is the Darryl Sutter change making any difference? Well,
statistically, no.
Statistically, it hasn't.
No.
But, I mean, you can change the cowboy, but if the horses aren't going to, behave, then it's going to make the cowboy look dumb, right? So I don't know. Calgary, that one doesn't make a lot of sense to me. Toronto, like Jackie said, Toronto's always in the mix, aren't they? It don't matter. It's always Toronto.
Well, good for them, though, because you know what's always Toronto? Not getting to the Stanley Cup. So I hope that changes.
Yeah.
Sorry, Clark.
It's his
Sorry
birthday
to hurt you on your 30th birthday. Clark turns 30 today. How about that? We do have the voice of the Wheat Kings in here, so we do need to get around to some WHL questions. And we will. I just want to mention some other things that went down today. When I say it's an exciting day for Crozy to come in here, it is because the Regina Red Sox announced this morning a proposal for a brand new ballpark in downtown Regina. And it's funny because the anti-stadium crowd, of which there are many people in that crowd, are saying, no, this is just a proposal. No, if it's going to my property tax going up, no, I don't want it. And I've been fairly intimately aware of this whole thing for quite some time. The Red Sox have been looking for a big money guy, a sugar daddy, if you will. I've linked them up with a few, and the sugar daddies said, no thanks. Well, they've found theirs, and it's Living Sky Sports Corp, which is bringing a pro soccer team to Saskatoon and building a stadium there. And now here they want to build a ballpark, 3,500 seats in downtown Regina. And if you know the sweatpants capital, it's right between Saskatchewan Drive and Dewdney, right in the abandoned railroad yards. Dewdney Strip. You've heard of the Dewdney Strip, right? That's where all the Rough Riders get into trouble.
Yeah.
Right?
That's where my hotel is right now. It's a
red light district.
If it wasn't for the pandemic, it would be a lot of temptation. Let's just say it that way. Temptation would be the word I would use.
Well, that's where you want to put stadiums.
Why not?
Right. How about that? Right where the temptation is. So that's what they're talking about, putting this ballpark. And Living Sky Corp is going to, a sports corp is going to pay for it. And a new hockey arena, multi-purpose facility downtown too. So these are big days. And then the other scoop, if you just tuned in, was I got a tip last night. I was calling a hockey game, and I couldn't really delve into it. So this morning I got looking at the text. I'm like, whoa! A source telling me that the CFL leaders are talking about dropping 5 Canadians per team and lowering the starting ratio down to 3 Canadian starters, which I think would be the lowest in the history of the Canadian Football League. And we'll delve into that a little more with Dupes when he comes back. But these are some of the big sports topics in the daytime on a Wednesday here in Canada. Wayne in Victoria, BC. Branden, you're hilarious. I'm loving this show today. How about that? I think you got a home here whenever you want, Crozy. And you've been on a few times.
Yeah, I enjoy it. Like I was saying to Dupes, since the whole fiasco with the Canadian media landscape changing, what you guys are doing is giving a voice to the Brandon Wheat Kings, to the Regina Red Sox.
Lethbridge Hurricanes
with Forbesy. And it's I feel like you guys are speaking for a lot of us. So
that's good.
It's good.
Thank you for that.
You guys are doing.
So from Patrolman Pete, I think you know Branden because you watch regularly. We got a lot of viewers in Winnipeg. And Patrolman Pete's in Winnipeg, and he says, at the start of the bubble, there were a lot of predictions calling for the Prince Albert Raiders to contend for the top, but they've been struggling. What's the problem there? Over to you.
They've had a ton of injuries. I think it was the first weekend, they lost Caden Gooley, the Montreal Canadiens first-round pick. Broken hand, I believe. He's done for the season. And then Max Paddock went down for about, I want to say, almost 2 weeks. They were using an emergency backup. They didn't even have a second goalie dressed because he was hurt. Ozzy Weisblatt's missed some games. Evan Herman's missed some games. They only brought, I think, 22 or 23 players into the hub, which I thought was a little strange compared to the other teams. They didn't really have that taxi squad of extra guys, so I think it's mostly just injuries. And, how do you predict something when you haven't seen a team play in over a year at the end of the day, right? Like, I don't think anybody that was betting was making a confident bet on any of the teams at this point. So
no.
I would blame injuries on a lot of the Raiders' struggles so
If
far.
they hadn't had injuries, they might be at the top.
I'd agree. Caden Gooley and Braden Schneider would have been arguably the top 2 defensemen here. So,
from our buddy Donald Mitchell, a Navy man who's in the Middle East right now, but he is from Killarney, Manitoba.
Oh, Killarney. I'm from Boys Vein, so I got to say that.
He says, does Branden still try to recruit local players so that us Westman fans have more reasons to cheer for the Wheaties? And if I may, before you answer that, Pats played Swift Current last night. They had a lot of Branden kids. Moose Jaw's got a bunch of Branden kids. So it's not just the Wheat Kings. You could stock a very good team of just Branden kids. I have that sense.
A few years ago, I did a training camp kind of breakdown of every team in the Western League that had a Branden or surrounding area player on their roster. And there was I want to say there was 50-some from around the Branden area playing in the Western Hockey League. We just talked about Max Paddock, Tate Popple, Damon Hunt, Calder Anderson, and the list goes on and on. So the hockey pipeline in Manitoba is great right now. So, the Wheat Kings have always tried to keep a lot of local products. I think they got Ty Thorpe, Ryland Thiessen, Branden boys right now. There's some Rossburn, some all over the province. So it's a very local flavor.
Jennifer Illingworth watching. She says, good morning, crew. Only got tidbits so far today. So the Sox are getting a new stadium. If I'm putting money down, Jennifer, to answer your question, they indeed are. The rail yards are abandoned. Brandon's staying right there with a hotel right now that's been put up in anticipation of a football stadium going there, which it didn't. Red Sox have been trying for years to secure funding to get it, and today they announced that they have. Living Sky Sports Corp is paying for a new stadium in downtown Regina. And there's more to the story than that, but I can tell you this, as a guy just fairly connected, I'd like to think, in the sports community and business community here in this town, that land could have been had for very cheap if somebody is willing to take it over. And the Red Sox have found that person and assume the responsibility that goes with it, shall I say. I got it here. Thanks, Clark. Michael Sisson's writing in. Mr. Sizz. He's a smart cookie, eh? He's the business manager of the PA Raiders. He knew how to word this, that I would answer it or ask it. Including Bedard, can Crozy comment on the 15-year-olds playing in the dub and the exciting years ahead for WHL fans? And before you do that, we do want to send our condolences to the Bedard family.
Right,
the Pats issued a news release this morning that Connor Bedard's grandfather, Garth, was killed in a car accident yesterday near Sicamous, BC. Connor was to play Friday and go with Canada's under-18 team in Texas, but now he's going to play Friday in honor of his grandfather and then go back to North Vancouver and be with his family. Just a tragic, tragic story for Connor Bedard, losing his grandfather, with whom we understand he was very close. Just a tragic story. So condolences to the Bedard family. Last night, Bedard 2 goals, 2 assists, 26 points in 14 games. So he's not the only 15-year-old, but Branden, wow.
It's hard to fathom how good he actually is. And you've seen him every night. I've seen him a handful of times. I've told people that have asked me that there's no doubt in my mind he's the best player here. And that people just shake their head. And I know you've been getting the negative people saying, oh, come on, Rod, get off the Bedard train. You're blowing smoke.
But they're not watching him.
But they're not seeing him every night. And so between him, Braden Yager, the Benson kid in Winnipeg, and the plethora of 16-year-olds that are playing right now. I mean, you look at Prince Albert, the Peekakoot kid who just came in. And he's been great. Brandon, as I mentioned, that whole line of 16-year-olds. You go around the league, the 15, 16-year-olds, they are the stars of the future right now. And everyone thinks that, the pandemic has maybe killed amateur sport a little bit. Well, these guys are going to be the defibrillator that you
bring
need,
it back.
that can bring it back. Because when the doors open to the Brandt Center in October, there should not be an empty seat. If they're allowed.
All year.
In theory. There shouldn't be an empty seat there. Or in Moose Jaw to watch Braden Yager. And when they come to Brandon, same thing. So those young guys and that future that the league has with these 15, 16-year-olds, it's impressive. It really is.
There's your answer. There you go, Sis. There's your best commercial for Western Hockey League hockey right there. But if I said, like, I'm with you, I think Bedard's the best player. But aside from that, had a little debate last night on the air with the Rat, Dale Durkach. He's got Peyton Krebs as the best player. And frankly, I go back and forth between two of your guys, Braden Schneider and Ridley Gregg.
Right.
They're fun to watch every night, too.
You can make the arguments on everybody.
A lot of stars.
There is.
A lot of stars.
And that's what makes this fun. You've got so many good players every night.
The hockey's great. Jay Bachhout is watching in Vancouver on YouTube. He said, is Max Paddock related to John Paddock? And the answer is indeed, it is his nephew.
His dad, Russ, was an Olympian.
He's a big dude, too.
He's a men's volleyball coach at BU. Actually, I think he's the AD now.
He runs the show there.
Runs the show.
At Brandon University.
You should ask Les next time you see him about the time Les had to play in a CIS men's basketball game.
But Les Lazaruk?
Les Lazaruk.
How'd that go?
So I won't tell the whole story. I'll let Les do it. But
it's the voice of the Blades he's talking.
So Les Lazaruk was the voice of the Bobcats for CKOQ and Brandon back in the day. And they went down on a tournament, and they had a bunch of injuries, and they were down in like Jamaica or something in a preseason tournament. They didn't have enough guys, and the coach threw him a jersey and said, here you go, Les. Away you go. So there he was, a 20-some-year-old, out-of-shape white radio guy jumping into the basketball court in Jamaica.
Our biggest nightmare.
And away he went.
Our biggest fear.
Next time you're talking to Les, you got to ask him about that
being asked to compete. No, I just want to call it. That's it.
Yeah.
Drew Koser, hockey skills coach, writes in from the Off the Hosel Golf and Hockey podcast, says, Logan Hammett and Jake Chason, I had the pleasure of working Hammett in the summers. Watching Chason over the years, he has to be an exciting wheat king. Nelson Hakowicz, our VP of Sim Events, says, does Bedard become the youngest captain in team history, unseating Barrett Jackman? It's not a rhetorical question for us to talk about, but I don't think we're talking about a 15-year-old being a captain or 16-year-old. What was Jackman, 17 when he became captain of the Pats? I see some similarities between the two. I've never been in the same room with Connor Bedard. I've interviewed him many times, but it's pretty hard to make an assumption. I can't make that assumption. But Dave Struch doesn't know Barrett Jackman either. You know what I mean? Like, the kid seems incredibly mature. I don't think they're looking for the next captain of the team right now.
I feel like that's good fodder, good conversation pieces, but that's probably the last thing on Dave Struch's mind right now.
Right. Well, of course. Jennifer Illingworth goes on to say, I heard about Connor this morning. Condolences to his family. Again, Connor Bedard's grandfather, Garth, passing away, and condolences to that family. Man, just when you think you might be getting out of the muck that's been 2020 and 2021, more tragedy happens. Viewer Chad Isaac regarding the ballpark. Do you guys want to put the photo up? Do you mind of the new ballpark?
That's what.
If you, there it is. That is the new ballpark. 3,500 seats, and you kind of got to know the city and what that is. That's looking south, west. So somebody said it reminds them of the Cannon Stadium in Calgary. And to be honest, it doesn't remind me anything of the Cannon Stadium in Calgary because that holds like 7,500 in the parking lot of McMahon Stadium. This is half that size. But brand new. It's got everybody excited. And private funds building this new baseball stadium in downtown Regina.
Well, think about the smaller concerts. the local people. Like I'm thinking of like the Jess Moskalukes and the Johnner brothers and the Saskatchewan artists that instead of packing into Mosaic Place in the summertime, go there. What a great environment that would be for a summertime concert.
I know. And the way these big money guys think, you wonder how long before the Pats ownership says, "Oh, yeah, watch this."
How about that?
How about that? Yeah, it's good times for stadiums here in the Rectangle.
How about that?
But we're going to talk a little. Well, it will be a Wheat Kings reunion when we come back. TSN's Darren Dreger with all the latest on the National Hockey League. And when Dupes comes back later, we'll delve into the CFL news that we broke today regarding the talk of the ratio being dropped to 3 in the Canadian Football League. You're watching the RP Show on Game Plus Television, YouTube and Facebook Live, and 24-hour sports talk for Suds Full Service Car Wash at rodpedersen.com. Listen live.
You're watching Rod Pedersen On Demand. For more of The Rod Pedersen Show, visit rodpedersen.com or follow Rod Pedersen on social media.